Welcome to Infinite Universe with interesting episode. Back in the days when life was simple but hard, Arnold Schwarzenegger started out with very little. As an apprentice, he earned just 300 shillings a month. Out of that, he had to give 100 shillings to his parents just so they could afford to feed him. Money was tight, and life was not easy. But from a young age, Arnold learned the value of hard work, sacrifice, and determination. Fast forward to 1997 in California, a shocking situation began to unfold. Two babies were born just 5 days apart. What made this story unusual was that both babies had the same father. Only one of them was expected to be born into the family, while the other child was the result of a secret affair. For 14 years, this secret was hidden. Arnold's housekeeper, Mildred Beener, brought her son Joseph to Arnold's home every day. The boy began to grow, becoming stronger and taller, and before long, it became clear to many that he looked exactly like Arnold. But no one said a word, and the secret stayed buried. It wasn't until a therapy session that Arnold finally admitted the truth. When he said the words out loud, everything changed. His family never fully recovered from that moment. That confession of paternity caused heartbreak, tension, and permanent scars. But the story of Arnold's secret child is just one piece of a much larger story. Arnold Schwarzenegger was born in 1947 in a small village in Austria. His childhood was shaped by the harsh realities of post-World War II life. His father, Gustav, was the local police chief. He was a strict and often cold man, shaped by his own traumas from the war. Gustav had once been buried alive in rubble for 3 days, an experience that haunted him for the rest of his life. Instead of healing, he brought that pain into his home. Arnold grew up in a household filled with fear and tension. Gustav made Arnold and his older brother Meinhard compete for attention and love. Even simple things, like picking flowers for their mother, were turned into competitions. When Gustav drank alcohol, his behavior became worse. He would scream and beat his children. Arnold later said that this kind of violence wasn't rare in Austria, it was part of the culture at that time. Even though he lived in a tough environment, Arnold didn't want to just survive. He wanted to get out. He wanted a better life. He worked hard and pushed himself every single day. At just 4 years old, he was required to do 200 sit-ups and push-ups each morning just to earn breakfast. No matter the weather, rain or snow, he wasn't allowed to skip. After those exercises, he had football training and then schoolwork. His father made him write 10-page reports, and if he made even one spelling mistake, he had to rewrite the entire thing 50 times. Gustav believed that putting pressure on his children would make them stronger. But this tough love affected his children differently. Arnold grew stronger and more determined, but Meinhard, who was more sensitive and creative, took a different path. He turned to alcohol. Sadly, in 1971, Meinhard died in a car crash after drinking too much. He hit a telephone pole and lost his life at just 24 years old. Arnold, who had already moved to America by then, didn't attend the funeral. Many people didn't understand why, but Arnold later explained that the same pressure that made him strong had destroyed his brother. A year after Meinhard died, their father Gustav also passed away. Arnold carried emotional scars from his childhood, but he made a promise to himself that he would not let those painful experiences define his future. At the age of 14, something big changed. Arnold was playing football when his coach took the team to a local gym near a lake. That's when Arnold saw men lifting weights and building their muscles. He was fascinated. Football immediately lost its appeal. He had found his true passion, bodybuilding. By the time he was 15, Arnold was training 6 days a week, while most teenagers only managed 3 days. He studied bodybuilding by reading every magazine he could find and watching every movie that featured bodybuilders. His dedication paid off. At 18, he won Junior Mr. Europe. At 20, he became the youngest person to ever win Mr. Universe. For Arnold, bodybuilding wasn't just a sport, it was his escape from a difficult life. But in the background, a dark secret from his family's past remained. Arnold's father, Gustav, had joined the Nazi Party in 1938 and officially became a member in 1941. He was part of the SA, the brown-shirted paramilitary group, and served as a master sergeant in the Nazi military police. He fought in many brutal battles, from Poland to Leningrad. For many years, Arnold didn't speak about his father's past. But in 1990, he asked the Simon Wiesenthal Center to investigate it. At first, the reports found no war crimes, but later research revealed the full extent of Gustav's involvement. Arnold didn't try to hide this truth. Instead, he used it to fuel his mission to speak out against hate and violence. He had seen what that kind of hate could do, how it could damage lives and leave broken people behind. At 19, Arnold made a bold decision. He left Austria and moved to Munich with just a suitcase and a dream. After completing 9 months of mandatory army service, he stepped off the train in a new and unfamiliar city. Munich was loud and busy, but Arnold made up his mind that it would be his new home. He moved into a tiny one-room apartment with other bodybuilders, including Franco Columbu. Money was extremely tight. Sometimes Arnold had to sleep in a storage room at the gym. He worked as a gym trainer and earned just enough to survive. The gym equipment was old, and the training space was small, but Arnold didn't complain. He was finally doing what he loved. He trained for 5 to 6 hours every day, 7 days a week. He avoided drinking and smoking. He made sure to sleep 10 hours a night. Everything he did was focused on becoming the best. Even the people he lived with were bodybuilders, and together they formed a support system. They trained together, worked side jobs, and pushed each other to keep going. The gym wasn't just a place to work out, it became a home. In September 1967, all of Arnold's hard work paid off. At just 20 years old, he won the Mr. Universe competition in London. He had tried before and lost, but this time he beat the American favorite, Dennis Tinerino. The bodybuilding world was shocked. Arnold's size, muscle definition, and showmanship were unlike anything anyone had ever seen. After returning to Munich, he did a photo shoot shirtless in the snow. He didn't care about the cold, he cared about being seen. That victory was just the beginning. Arnold went on to win Mr. Universe 5 times and Mr. Olympia 7 times. But his approach to training was different from others. While most bodybuilders focused on short, organized workouts, Arnold believed in pushing the limits. He trained twice a day, 6 days a week. He would work on chest and back in the morning and then do legs, calves, and abs in the evening. The next day he'd train shoulders, biceps, and triceps in the morning and then more calves and abs at night. His body weight during the off-season would reach up to 255 pounds, much higher than his competition weight. Experts warned that he would burn out, but Arnold kept going. He believed muscles needed to be shocked to grow. Not all of his growth came naturally. Arnold later admitted that he used steroids, mainly Dianabol and testosterone. He said it was under a doctor's supervision and in small doses. At the time, steroids were not illegal, and the bodybuilding culture viewed them differently. Some of his old gym mates claimed he used more than he said and that he encouraged others to use them too. Arnold never claimed to be perfect. He was simply honest about what it took to reach his level of success. When he arrived in America in October 1968, Arnold had just a duffel bag, a thick Austrian accent, and $20 in his pocket. He was 21 years old and didn't speak English very well. He didn't understand the culture, but he knew he wanted to succeed. Growing up poor in a cold Austrian village had given him the hunger to succeed. Even though he had already become Mr. Universe, he wasn't satisfied. America was the dream he had held onto since he was 10 years old. Life in America started off rough. He didn't understand menus in restaurants or the slang people used. Many laughed at him. But the bodybuilding community accepted him. Strangers helped him with food, blankets, and even gave him a television. Joe Weider, the man who organized many bodybuilding events, gave him a place to stay and paid him just enough to train full-time. Arnold never forgot that kindness. He always said he didn't make it on his own. Just 2 years later, at 23, he won Mr. Olympia and became the youngest person to ever win that title. He won it again and again from 1970 to 1975. No one could beat him. He defeated legends like Sergio Oliva and Lou Ferrigno. Even when the Mr. Olympia contest tried separating competitors by weight class, Arnold still came out on top. In 1980, he surprised everyone with a comeback and won his 7th title. His first Mr. Olympia victory earned him just $1,000. By 1980, the prize was $25,000. Arnold's presence in the sport helped it grow dramatically. But Arnold didn't rely on just physical strength. He used his intelligence too. Before one competition, he sat at breakfast with Lou Ferrigno and told him, "You look almost ready," planting a seed of doubt right before the contest. It worked. Lou lost confidence and didn't perform well. Arnold believed that if someone couldn't handle mental pressure, they didn't deserve to win. He didn't leave anything to chance. He told jokes, spread rumors, and made other competitors second-guess themselves. He treated bodybuilding like an art form. His 22-inch biceps became legendary. He trained arms several times a week with high-volume workouts. But he didn't just lift weights mindlessly. He focused deeply, connecting his mind with each movement. Even the way he twisted his wrist was calculated to improve the shape of his muscles. He wasn't just building size, he was building perfection. Then came the moment that changed everything: the camera. In 1977, the documentary Pumping Iron was released, and Arnold's life would never be the same again. The movie was meant to show the world of bodybuilding and the personalities behind the muscles. Arnold was the star. His charm, humor, and confidence jumped off the screen. The public loved him. For many, this was the first time they saw bodybuilders as real people. Even though parts of the film were staged, like the story about him missing his father's funeral or fake rivalries, it didn't matter. Arnold became famous far beyond the gym. He had charisma, a smile that lit up the room, and a voice that was unforgettable, even with the heavy Austrian accent. When Arnold tried to become an actor, though, Hollywood didn't take him seriously at first. Studio executives laughed at his accent, saying it was too strange. They said his body was too big and unrealistic. Some even mocked his name, calling him things like Arnold Schnitzel. At the time, Hollywood preferred smaller, more refined leading men, not someone who looked like a superhero. They offered him villain roles, often typecasting him as a Nazi because of his background and accent. But Arnold had a bigger dream. He didn't want to play bad guys. He wanted to be the hero. His first major movie role came in 1970's Hercules in New York, and it was not a success. His lines were dubbed over by another actor because producers thought no one would understand him. It was embarrassing, and the movie failed. For years, he struggled to land serious roles. But Arnold stayed focused. He kept training, kept studying acting, and kept improving his English. In 1976, he got a small break. He starred in the movie Stay Hungry alongside Sally Field and Jeff Bridges. This time, critics saw something different. His accent didn't seem like a problem anymore, it added to his uniqueness. He even won a Golden Globe for Best Acting Debut. This was the beginning of something big. In 1982, he landed the role that made him a true movie star, Conan the Barbarian. It had a $20 million budget and ended up making $79 million. Audiences loved the character, and Arnold fit it perfectly. His size, intensity, and mysterious accent brought Conan to life. Now, Hollywood was paying attention. Just 2 years later, in 1984, Arnold starred in the film that would turn him into a global icon, The Terminator. Directed by James Cameron, the movie had a small budget of just $6.4 million, but it made over $78 million worldwide. Arnold's line, "I'll be back," became one of the most famous quotes in movie history. That line almost didn't make it into the film. Arnold didn't like how it sounded. But James Cameron insisted. That one sentence would be repeated by fans for decades. From that point on, Arnold was unstoppable. Between 1985 and 1991, he starred in hit after hit. Commando earned $57 million. Predator made $98 million. The Running Man, Raw Deal, and Red Heat were all successful. He wasn't just acting in action movies, he was helping to shape them. He became the standard by which other action stars were measured. In 1988, Arnold took a big risk. He starred in a comedy, Twins, alongside Danny DeVito. The idea seemed ridiculous, two brothers who looked nothing alike. But the movie was a massive hit, earning $216 million on just a $15 million budget. Arnold, DeVito, and the director skipped their salaries in exchange for a share of the profits. It was a brilliant move. Each of them made over $35 million. By 1990, Arnold had cemented his place as one of Hollywood's most successful and versatile stars. That year, he starred in Total Recall, one of the most expensive movies ever made at the time. With a $65 million budget, it earned $261 million globally. Audiences were amazed by the special effects and the science fiction story. Then came the movie that redefined action films, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Released in 1991, it had a budget of $102 million, the highest ever at that time. The movie earned more than $517 million worldwide. Arnold was paid $15 million, making him the highest-paid actor in the world. The groundbreaking special effects and powerful story made it one of the most iconic films in history. Arnold was no longer just a movie star, he was a legend. By 1993, he had been crowned the International Star of the Decade. He was famous all over the world. People in every country recognized his face, his voice, and his movies. He had come a long way from the small village in Austria. But life wasn't just about movies. Arnold also wanted to help people. He married Maria Shriver, a journalist and a member of the powerful Kennedy family. Together, they seemed like America's golden couple. They had 4 children and were involved in charity work and politics. Arnold was especially passionate about children's fitness and after-school programs. In 2003, Arnold made a shocking decision. He announced that he would run for governor of California. At first, people thought it was a joke. But he was serious. He believed he could bring change to the state. Despite having no political experience, he used his fame and charisma to win over voters. His campaign used slogans based on his movies, like Total Recall. He traveled across the state, meeting people, listening to their problems, and making promises. Just 1 month before the election, everything almost fell apart. The Los Angeles Times published a report accusing Arnold of sexual misconduct. 15 women came forward with allegations. Some said he groped them on film sets. Others said he made inappropriate comments or touched them without consent. The media called it Gropegate. Instead of denying everything, Arnold addressed the issue directly. He admitted that he had behaved badly in the past and said, "Forget all the excuses. It was wrong." Many people respected his honesty, and despite the controversy, he won the election with nearly 49% of the vote. More than 4.2 million people voted for him, including 43% of women voters. He became only the second foreign-born governor of California. Once in office, Arnold didn't try to hide who he was. He used his public personality as a strength. He once called lawmakers who opposed his budget plan girly men, a line that received both laughter and outrage. Some found it sexist and offensive, while others thought it was just his tough style. But behind the tough talk, Arnold started to push for progressive policies. In 2006, he backed a major law to fight climate change, the Global Warming Solutions Act. It made California the first state in the U.S. to place strict limits on greenhouse gas emissions. He received praise from environmental groups and became a leader in the fight against global warming. In 2007, he introduced a $12 billion universal health care plan that aimed to cover all Californians, even undocumented immigrants. It was bold and unexpected, especially for a Republican. Arnold said that everyone had a responsibility. People should buy insurance, employers should help pay, and insurance companies should offer fair prices. He also wanted to reward people who lived healthy lives. But not everything went smoothly. When Arnold took office, California already had $34 billion in debt. By the time he left, the debt had grown to $91 billion. Part of the problem was a decision he made early on to cut the vehicle license fee. That choice cost the state billions in revenue. He tried to make up for it by borrowing money, including $15 billion in bonds and $37 billion for infrastructure projects. Then came the 2008 financial crisis. California, like much of the world, suffered badly. Tax income dropped, jobs were lost, and the economy slowed. Even though Arnold made budget cuts and reduced spending, the financial problems grew. By the end of his term, every Californian owed over $2,300 in state debt, twice as much as when he started. All of this happened while his personal life was falling apart. In 2011, a bombshell hit the headlines. Arnold admitted that he had fathered a child with Mildred Beener, the family's housekeeper. Her son, Joseph, was born just 5 days after Arnold's wife, Maria, gave birth to their son Christopher. Both women had been pregnant at the same time, living in the same house. For years, no one knew. Mildred listed her husband, Rogelio, as the father on the birth certificate. But as Joseph grew, he started to look more and more like Arnold. The resemblance became undeniable. In therapy, Arnold finally confessed the truth. The revelation devastated his family. Maria left him. Joseph became estranged from his half-siblings. Mildred moved away to escape the public spotlight. It was one of the most shocking scandals in recent history. Arnold's carefully built image as a strong, responsible family man was shattered. He apologized publicly and said he was sorry for the pain he had caused. But the damage was done. Over the years, Arnold worked to rebuild his relationships. He tried to make amends with his children, especially Joseph. Slowly, the family began to heal, but things would never be the same. In interviews, Arnold admitted that he had made terrible mistakes. He said he had let his ego and ambition control his decisions. Despite their ups and downs, Arnold's story is one of incredible transformation. He went from a small-town boy in Austria to the world's greatest bodybuilder. From a failed actor with a heavy accent to a Hollywood legend. From a political outsider to the governor of America's largest state. Through it all, he never gave up. He believed in hard work, discipline, and the power of dreams. He knew that success didn't come without failure. And he proved that even the most unlikely person can change the world. Arnold Schwarzenegger's life is full of contradictions. He was a symbol of strength but carried deep emotional pain. He preached discipline but made impulsive decisions. He inspired millions but hurt those closest to him. Yet, his story continues to inspire. Because at the heart of it all is a man who never stopped trying to become better. And that, more than anything, is the legacy of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger came to California politics with big promises and the confidence of a movie star. People admired his success and believed he could turn the state around. He said he would terminate the state's financial problems and bring strong leadership. But things didn't go the way he planned. When he first became governor, people were excited. He had charisma, fame, and a big personality. He wasn't like a typical politician, and that made him seem like a fresh choice. However, running a state was much harder than starring in action movies. Over time, the problems in California became harder to fix. The economy struggled, and many areas like education and social services lost funding. The budget was out of control. Arnold tried to make cuts and balance the budget, but nothing seemed to work. As the years passed, both conservatives and liberals started to lose faith in him. Conservatives said he didn't stay true to their values. Liberals thought he only talked without real action. No one was happy. By 2010, his approval rating dropped to just 23%. That was even lower than the approval rating of the previous governor, Gray Davis, who had been removed from office. It was a sharp fall for someone who had entered with so much support. The California legislature wasn't doing any better. Their approval was just 17%. It felt like the entire government was stuck. Arnold's time as governor ended with a broken budget and a disappointed public. The dream of strong reform had turned into a troubled reality. People had moved on, and his political future seemed uncertain. On January 4, 2011, just one day after he left office, Arnold's life changed forever. He and his wife, Maria Shriver, went to a couples therapy session. She had been concerned for some time and wanted answers. During the session, the therapist asked Arnold a shocking question, saying Maria wanted to know if he had fathered a child with their housekeeper, Mildred Beener. Arnold was caught off guard. He had kept the truth hidden for years, but at that moment, he confessed. He admitted, "It's true." His words were like a bomb going off. The child, Joseph Biener, had been born in 1997, just 5 days after Maria gave birth to their youngest son, Christopher. For years, Arnold had convinced himself that Mildred's husband was the father, but as Joseph grew older, he looked more and more like Arnold. Maria had suspected the truth long before that therapy session. She had even questioned Mildred, but never got a clear answer. Finally, in that room, everything came out. Arnold's confession ended their marriage of 25 years in one moment. Maria didn't yell or cry, but the damage was immediate. The betrayal was more painful because of the timing. Arnold had the affair in 1996 while Maria and the children were away and he was filming Batman and Robin. Within months of the confession, Maria left their home and filed for divorce. Arnold later said he had caused deep pain to Maria, the kids, Joseph, and Mildred. He said it wasn't just a failure in his marriage, it was a failure in his life. Joseph Biener, who was just 13 years old when the story broke, didn't learn the truth from his father. He found out through the media. In 2011, the headlines were everywhere. News vans camped outside their home in Bakersfield. Cameras waited to get a glimpse of the boy who had suddenly become famous for all the wrong reasons. His mother pulled him out of school and told him they had to leave because everyone knew. He was in 8th grade, still a child, and now the entire world knew a secret he didn't even understand fully. They moved to Texas to escape the attention. Joseph later described that time as overwhelming. His body and mind were changing as he went through puberty, and now his entire life had flipped upside down. Even though he and Arnold would later become close through their shared love of fitness and bodybuilding, those early days were filled with pain and confusion. Maria was deeply hurt. Her pain wasn't just about the affair. Between 2009 and 2011, she had lost both of her parents. Her world had already been shaken, and now her marriage had collapsed too. She said it felt like she had no identity left. She described her emotions as a mix of grief, fear, anger, and shame. In July 2011, she officially filed for divorce, stating irreconcilable differences. But the divorce process wasn't quick. It dragged on for 10 years and wasn't finalized until 2021. During that time, Maria tried to heal. She explored therapy, meditation, and even turned to spiritual guidance from shamans and psychics. Her marriage hadn't just ended in private, it had crumbled under public judgment. The public watched as the Kennedy family legacy collided with a Hollywood scandal. Maria was left trying to stay strong in the middle of it all. Meanwhile, Arnold attempted a comeback. In 2010, he made a quick appearance in The Expendables. His role only took 2 hours to film, but fans loved seeing him alongside Stallone and Bruce Willis. It brought back memories of the 1980s and early 1990s when Arnold was one of the biggest movie stars in the world. In 2012, he had a bigger role in Expendables 2, and it seemed like he might be returning to form. However, by Expendables 3, Arnold was unhappy. He thought the writing was weak and his character wasn't meaningful. He decided not to join the 4th film. His return to Hollywood didn't have the power he had hoped for. Audiences had changed. Arnold was now in his 60s. While people still respected him, the excitement wasn't the same. Then came Terminator Genesis in 2015. Arnold returned as the character that had made him famous, the Terminator. The studio had high hopes. The budget was around $155 million, and they wanted to revive the franchise and Arnold's star power. But the movie didn't perform well in the United States. After 5 days, it had only made $44.2 million in the US. The international box office did a bit better with $74 million, but it still wasn't enough. It became one of the least successful films in the series. Even Arnold's famous line, "old but not obsolete," couldn't save it. Studios hoped China would boost the numbers, but the West had lost interest. The movie's poor performance showed that Arnold's golden days in Hollywood couldn't be repeated. There were also serious issues from his past that returned. Back in 2003, just before Arnold ran for governor, the Los Angeles Times published a report. Several women accused him of inappropriate behavior, including groping. Arnold denied everything at the time. He said the stories were false. But by 2023, He admitted the truth in a Netflix documentary titled Arnold. He said there were no excuses. He acknowledged that his actions were wrong. Over 15 women had come forward over the years. Their stories went back more than 30 years. Arnold's late apology was a moment of truth. It didn't erase the past, but it showed that even someone as powerful as him couldn't escape accountability forever. In the same documentary, he also talked about fathering a child with Mildred. This time, he didn't try to hide. He finally owned up to what he had once tried so hard to bury. In 2022, Arnold was in the news again for another reason. He was involved in a serious car accident in Los Angeles. He was driving a black GMC Yukon on Sunset Boulevard when it collided with a red Toyota Prius. His SUV rolled on top of the Prius and hit 2 other cars. Arnold wasn't hurt, but Cheryl Augustine, the woman driving the Prius, suffered head trauma and bleeding in her brain. Her injuries were severe. She became permanently disabled. Her lawyer filed a lawsuit, claiming Arnold had been driving recklessly and refused to take responsibility. Although the police found no drugs or alcohol in his system, the crash showed how one decision behind the wheel could change another person's life forever. Even with fame, Arnold wasn't above the law. Despite all of this, Arnold has tried to stay close to his children, all 5 of them. That includes Joseph Biener. Though Joseph was the result of an affair that broke Arnold's marriage, Arnold has worked to be a part of his life. He spends time with him, especially in the gym, and they share a love for fitness. His other children, Catherine, Christina, Patrick, and Christopher, also remain close to him. He appears at their events, celebrates their birthdays, and praises them publicly. He often calls his relationship with his kids fantastic. Joseph has taken his own path. He has acted in small films, appeared on Dancing with the Stars in 2022, and even landed on the cover of Men's Health. He's also a real estate agent and has completed a triathlon. In many ways, he's just like his father in appearance and ambition. But he's determined to make a name for himself without relying on Arnold's fame. One thing, however, still hasn't healed. Joseph is distant from his half-siblings. Even though he shares the same father and was born just days apart from Christopher, he doesn't have a relationship with the other kids. He wasn't invited to Catherine's wedding. He likes their posts on social media, but they don't respond. The silence says a lot. To them, he might still represent the betrayal that broke their family. For Joseph, that silence is painful. When the news first came out, he and his mother had to leave their home. He grew up feeling like a shameful secret. He became known not for who he was, but for how he came into the world. Arnold has said he wants all his children to feel loved and included. He doesn't want Joseph to feel unwanted because of his mistake. He's called it his biggest regret, not any movie failure, not any political problem, but the pain he caused his family. He's apologized to Maria, to the children, and to the women he hurt. He says he's trying to be better. But the damage is already done. Sometimes, no matter how strong you are, your past follows you. Arnold's story isn't just about fame or power. It's about mistakes, consequences, and the long road to making things right. Thanks for watching. Keep it and stay tuned. Like and subscribe our channel. Have a good day.